Hello my bookish lovelies, Kira here, and today I am going to be talking about all of the releases that I'm really excited for that are coming up in August. This is probably like one of the months that has less releases that I'm really interested in, but there's still some releases that are coming out nonetheless that I'm really interested in getting my hands on at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about those. I know we all need stuff to look forward to right now, so I'm just wanting to be here and I'm wanting to go ahead and kind of hype us up about some really good stuff to look forward to. So the first book, this book wasn't on my radar from the very beginning. It's actually only recently gotten on my radar the last couple of months. It's called Crave by Tracy Wolfe. The main reason I was kind of looking at this was because I am actually a huge fan of vampires. Well, this kind of has a whole high school mentality, it's an academy, with our main character who walks in and kind of has a suspicion that she is actually in a academy with other vampires. She feels like she's walking into a place where she's a mere mortal among gods or monsters. Jackson Vega is this vampire who has some deadly secrets, kind of have to uncover those, and she was kind of feeling like she was brought to the academy as bait, is what I got from it. I'm not really, I really don't know a ton about this, but aside from that, I am a huge fan of vampires. I read Twilight in high school. I have mixed emotions about that entire series. I liked the first one, hated the second one, loved the third one, didn't really like the last one. So I mean, I'm kind of a 50-50 ratio with the Twilight series, but this kind of sounds a little bit like Twilight, given the academy setting and everything else. And I'm kind of curious to see how I feel about it. Also, the whole vampire thing has just got me reeling and I'm really excited. Speaking of vampires, there's actually a second vampire release that's coming out in the month of April that I'm just so excited for, and it's actually been on my radar too for the last couple of months. It's called The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, written by Grady Hendrix. So this is kind of I just wanted to read to you guys how this is described. Fried green tomatoes and steel magnolias meets Dracula in this southern flavored supernatural thriller set in the 90s about a woman's book club that must protect its suburban community from a mysterious and handsome stranger who turns out to be a blood-sucking fiend. So this actually just sounds like so much fun. This is actually about a bunch of housewives in a suburban setting that kind of get suspicious about a new neighbor that moves in, and Patricia Campbell, she's kind of new to the area. She's the newest person to this area, and she's feeling very underappreciated by her husband and her kids and everything else. She just can't seem to do anything well enough. Then she meets this book club, and this book club, they get together and they discuss books, of course, but then they have somebody new that moves in, and come to find out the truth about this newcomer after children start going missing is more terrifying than the fact that she thinks he might be a Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy. And from there, it just kind of becomes this whole thing. I'm not really sure if this is meant to be a actual thriller or a thriller style comedy. I'm not really sure, because actually the basis for it kind of sounds a little bit comedic, but I'm really curious to know how this is going to be portrayed. I thought the premise for this just sounded like it was going to be a lot of fun, because I mean, a book club going after a vampire? Anybody else want to go vampire hunting with me? Because I'm so game for this. I just feel I can just relate to this, aside from the whole suburban mother thing. Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be, it just sounds like a lot of fun. So the next book in this is going to be it's a second in a series. It's called Ruthless Gods by Emily A. Duncan. I have not read the first one, just a disclaimer on that. This series has also been on my radar for quite a while. This is another series I'm kind of waiting for it to be completely published before I make time to read it, because I do try to prioritize series that are already completed. This series essentially is about, I believe it's told from 3 different perspectives. A girl who can speak to monsters, a prince who is in danger and must decide who to trust, and a boy with monstrous secrets. But this is one that I've kind of had on my radar, and the fact that we have a girl that speaks with gods, that is actually what threw me over the edge for wanting to get into this. And I'm just so excited that we're finally getting the second one, and I'm hoping the third one will not be far behind it so that I can dive into the series. The last book that's going to be released on 4/7 is called Godshot by Chelsie Beaker. This is one that I really haven't heard a lot about. I was actually scrolling through all of the Goodreads stuff that was coming out for releases, and I read this, they had me cult leader, religious cult leader. That's pretty much what drew me into this. Now, this takes place around Peaches, California, and there's just this horrible drought that's going on. Ecologically, like, everything is just totally messed up. And 14-year-old Lacey May and her alcoholic mother are just kind of struggling to survive. Pretty much everybody in this area is struggling to survive. So they have no one else to turn to but Pastor Vern. Now, Pastor Vern is actually a leader for a cult. At some point during this whole thing, Lacey's mother is exiled from the community and she has to go out and find like her way, and Lacey ends up running off with a man that she barely knows. Through everything like that's going on, it's kind of like this really like dark road, like down kind of Lacey having to figure things out and kind of fight for her community, because she finds out like that what Pastor Vern is deciding to do for this community to help improve it ecologically is very dark, and she's trying to prevent it. So she has to go on a quest now to find her mother, to kind of dig up everything like that's going on and try to make her way, you know, like into helping like her community, and also to prevent whatever thing like that Pastor Vern is deciding that he's going to do to help it. This book really is about like seeking salvation like in unexpected places. It's about like trying to figure out your way through life, trying to stand up for what you believe in. I wasn't so like much like enticed like by the religious aspect as I was by like the fact that there's a cult leader. I'm always very fascinated. I was a psych major in college, and I'm always very fascinated by the cult mentality. So I'm kind of just like, what's going on here? And I'm just really excited like to kind of, you know, like dig into this at some point. The first one's called Little Secrets by Jennifer Hiller. So Marin is the main character of this, and she has the perfect life, perfect husband. Actually, like, her and her husband in this community are regarded as being the perfect couple. Up until the day that Marin's 4-year-old son is abducted. A year later, Marin is the shadow of herself. The FBI cannot seem to find her son anywhere, and she is just struggling to retain everything that she loves. We also have another perspective in this as well, by a woman named Kenzie Lee. Kenzie Lee is actually having an affair with Marin's husband. Marin discovers this, and Kenzie Lee is not wanting to let go of Marin's husband because Kenzie Lee is actually falling in love with him. But the twist in all this, everything sounded kind of tropey up until the twist in this, up until like I got to the part like in reading up on this, like what kind of like made me like really interested is the fact that Kenzie Lee might actually know what happened to Marin's son. And that kind of got me like wondering, who is Kenzie Lee? Where does she come from? What's her background like? And why would she know where Marin's 4-year-old son went? All things considered, I'm really kind of interested. Like, it sounds like it's going to be a thriller, and it sounds like it's going to be like kind of an interesting like thing like that has twists. I am very, very hard to impress when it comes to thrillers, because usually I can figure them out. So I'm hoping like that this is going to be like one that I do not figure out right away, because that's always a huge disappointment for me. So it seems like there's a pattern like this month. It seems like this is the month for crime thrillers. This one's actually set in Tokyo though. It's called What's Left of Me Is Yours by Stephanie Scott. So this has got kind of an interesting edge to it. This is one of those stories like where the wife hires a mistress for the husband in order to set up proceedings will allow the wife to discover the husband cheating on her. And because of this, it's kind of an organization like that kind of specializes in this kind of thing, and it's hopefully going to give her a clean divorce from her husband. Now, what's kind of unique about this is the fact that it's pretty much told multi-perspective, but it's also told from the perspective of the daughter. And what's going to be really awesome about this too is it's told from all across Japan, and like I am just really like I've always thought Japan was like a beautiful country, like from everything that I've seen of it, because I've never actually been there. I've always wanted to go, but it seems like it's a beautiful country. But the premise like for like this, the fact that it has a Tokyo setting, I've never actually heard of a book like that was based on people that were called breaker uppers, who try to break up the marriage in order to allow like the wife to go and be by herself and give her like the leg up, as well as, you know, like the argumentative advantage in a court of law, which I think is pretty much like where this is going. Now, What really kind of drew me in was the last portion of the description of this. As Rain and daughter Sumiko fills in the gaps of her mother's story and her own memory, Scott probes the thorny psychological and moral grounds of the actions we take in the name of love, asking where we draw the line between passion and possession. And I always like the books like that kind of explore like the darker elements of love, because I just feel like there's just so much more to get out of that. Because overall, healthy love is really like light and it frees you and everything else. But I feel like this is coming from an element of passion and kind of like darker portions of love, which I feel like in order to really know the light portions of love, you also have to embrace the dark portions of love too, so that you can identify the difference. So I'm kind of like really curious to see like exactly like how this is, but it just sounded really intriguing and I'm kind of like looking to dig into that. Now, a few months back, I made a mistake. This book got pushed back to April. It's finally coming out on April 21st, which I am just really excited about. It is Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. I actually just recently read a Robert Jackson Bennett book. I really liked it. The writing was very accessible, like it was very interesting. This is a totally new series that is coming out for Robert Jackson Bennett. This book is the second book in the series, and it's kind of like a fantasy, but like a steampunk style fantasy all in one. And I've been a huge fan of steampunk for like a long time. Now, I'm very picky about my steampunk, and if it's Robert Jackson Bennett and he portrays it the way I hope he's going to, then I just feel like I am just going to love it, because I really love the other book that I read by him. I really enjoyed it. It was a wild ride and it was a taste of something completely different. And that's kind of like what I feel like you get with Robert Jackson Bennett. You get something completely different from him. You don't, I really haven't seen like anybody talk about anything having to do with having a fantasy style steampunk kind of setting, like where the machines are kind of like, you know, there like alongside the magical element. And I'm just really excited to see like how this pans out. But yes, this book is finally coming out on April 21st and I'm so excited. Okay, so this book had me at perfect for fans of Carrie Maniscalco, which you guys all know I love Stalking Jack the Ripper, and Renee Ahdieh. I still haven't read anything by Renee Ahdieh, but I know she wrote The Beautiful recently, which I really need to get to. But this book really has me like really interested. It's called The Silence of Bones by June Her. This is actually set in 1800s Korea. This takes place with Sol, who is a 16-year-old who's indentured to a detective who's investigating the death of a noblewoman. The Sol and the inspector kind of form like this little bond, and everything is going fine until she is tested by becoming the prime suspect for the noblewoman's murder. I don't know, like there's just something about like this book that really just has me like really interested. The fact that we get a historical kind of element, historical Korea, really just kind of sets up like everything and just makes me like really curious for how this is gonna go. And Sol's kind of like living in this like modern curse kind of thing, like may you live in interesting times. So I'm just kind of like, what is going on? And of course, like Sol, being our main character, is probably the only one that's going to be able to discover exactly what happened to this noblewoman. So this is June Her. I believe this is her debut book, and all the combinations and everything, like the setting, just the vibe that I get from like this just sounds so freaking fun. So that's like one that I've been like looking at, and that one I've been like looking at for like months. So that one I'm definitely going to have to pick up very soon, because like Carrie Maniscalco, like I need more like her in my life, especially because like now that I've finished Stalking Jack the Ripper series, it's kind of left a hole in my heart. So I definitely need something like that's kind of along the same vein. But the fact that this is set in 1800s Korea really just has me so excited. So there is a sequel that's coming out that I have been waiting for like the last 2 years, and I can't tell you guys just how excited I am for it, because I just am. It's Deck of Omens by Christy Lynn Herman. This is the sequel to The Devouring Grey, and I read The Devouring Grey and I binged that book. Like, it kind of had a slow start to it, but once I got into it, like I just could not put it down. Like I was just enthralled. So this takes place in the town called Four Paths. There are 4 families like that have descended down from everything, and they're the main like ones that have kind of set up running this town. Now each family has a specific ability like that helps them protect against the fog. There's this fog that kind of comes out and lurks out there, and like once you get swallowed up by the fog, it usually takes your life along with it. Usually the fog averages about 1 person a year it takes. Lately though, it's been taking more than that, and they don't know why. So this is kind of like the exploration of why there are more bodies than normal that are starting to disappear. This has LGBTQ+ rep. I mean, it's so much fun. And I love how like it kind of like has that whole conspiracy theory element, like there's like 4 kids like that are just trying to uncover everything. I am just so excited for this. Like I just can't. Like I really loved the first one. Like it was just a lot of fun. It's actually like one of the books like that really sticks out in my mind as far as one like that I read 2 years ago, and I still cannot get my mind like off of it. I think about it fondly like all the time. So I'm just so excited like that they're finally coming out with a sequel for this. I already have it pre-ordered, and I'm hoping to read it almost as soon as I get it. So that concludes all the books that I'm really excited for April 21st. Now there's like, and after like this, there's only one more book that I'm really excited for, because like I said, April doesn't really have a ton of books like that I was really like kind of drooling over. So the next book is coming out on April 27th, and it's Incendiary by Dena, Cordova. So this actually has kind of a little bit more of a complicated plot line, but I don't care because it just sounds so amazing. It's about this girl named Ratana Convita, and she has lived 100 lives that she has stolen. But finally, she gets to live her own. Renata has a special ability to steal memories from people. The king actually utilizes her quite frequently for that purpose, because that's a very good skill to have. But after a siege goes really wrong, Ratana ends up turning on the king and ends up becoming one of the Whispers. The Whispers are the ones who are rebel spies, and they're working to destroy the crown. Now, even though it was a little over a year ago like that Ratana got rescued by the Whispers, she's still haunted by all the hollow souls that she took while she was in service to the king. Now there is also a little bit of a romance going on in here too, which we all love, because you know, I love stories like where the romance is not the primary story. I like it as a side story because it kind of adds like a little bit of extra flavor. I feel like romance books, like they make the entire plot about love, but I feel like books like that have a little bit of love in them along with everything else are a little bit more realistic, simply because usually like life is not 100% about love, but life usually has love in it. So I really love it like when love is just kind of included in along with the storyline. So Des, the commander of the Whispers, gets abducted, and of course Ratana has to figure out how to save him, because she, you know, like the love that she has for him makes everything else so bearable. This kind of puts Renata like in a very like bad spot. She has to figure out how to get into the palace to save Des, but the only way she can do that is to kind of convince them that she was kidnapped by the Whispers and she came back to them and she's still loyal. So she has to kind of convince the king like that she never wanted to leave in the first place, and even after a year of being in service to somebody else, she has to convince them that she did it unwillingly. As she ends up going back into the palace, she figures out like that there's things about her childhood that she doesn't know, and this is going to change a lot about the things that she knows about herself. This book, we've heard a lot about this book because of the cover. The cover is gorgeous. Like, I just love the cover so much. But like the storyline, the fact that she can steal memories, that to me is unique. I don't see a lot about people stealing memories. So really excited about that too. So those are all the books that I'm really excited about in the month of April. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys like this video, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every time I post. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Amazon, and Goodreads. Those links are linked in the description below. I would love it for you guys to come chat with me. Also, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do videos as frequently as possible. I'm getting back into regular filming again after a couple of weeks, just because like with everything that's going on, things have been stressful. So I'm trying to make sure like that I have content for you guys, and I hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe. See you guys later.